Ladies and gentlemen, what you're about to see is genuinely the future of PC gaming, and I don't want to make this sound more dramatic than it is, because if you want to be really skeptical about it, yeah, we've got some fans and a cooler on our desk, but what we actually have goes a lot further than this, because this is a video all about the brand new Corsair iCUE Link. And even if you're never going to buy a Corsair product in your life, I assure you everyone is going to copy this, because what this sets out to do and what it actually achieves is insane. And I do want to put emphasis actually on the fact that while a lot of this stuff at the moment is very expensive, this is literally the top end stuff that Corsair is currently selling. So this is going to trickle down into sort of the more affordable realms of Corsair RGB. And the whole idea really is that if you do want to go for a RGB system or maybe a Corsair system, everything can connect together and just be so much easier to manage, so much easier to extend, and all of the cables and horrible bits of building a PC of yesteryear will be firmly gone. So let's get this unboxed and see if it's actually good. Right after a short word from this video sponsor. Introducing ASRock's epic new PG34WQ gaming monitor. This ultra-wide display packs 3440 by 1440 resolution and 165Hz refresh rate in a 34-inch curved body. It also rocks AMD FreeSync Premium, can display up to 91% of DCI P3 color, and even sports a Wi-Fi boosting antenna. Learn more about this epic gaming display today with the link down below. Right, so then let's get this system turned off and actually start our upgrade. And I think what I want to do is actually begin with the fans, because for a lot of people, you're not necessarily going to go for the most expensive cooler, you might not even need it, whereas everyone wants a cool, quiet system, and I guess one that looks really cool, no pun intended. And the first set of fans to properly utilize this brand new iCUE Link system are these, the QX120 RGB, and these are going to set you back around about £139 in the UK for a set of 3, which is definitely top end, but again, emphasis, this will trickle down into the cheaper products, so if you don't want to spend that much, don't worry about it, just focus on the system for now. But these are going to be very similar to the QLs that we saw of a few years ago, I suppose, where we have light loops on both sides, so it doesn't matter if you can see the front or the back. But new for this year is the fact that you do actually have a temperature sensor probe within each fan. So once you've got everything set up, you could actually see what your exhaust temperature is, maybe for the back, where the intake is, and you can move everything around just to get yourself the best thermals possible, and obviously reduce noise levels or give you better performance. You can get a pack of 3 120s or 2 140s, and this is a starter kit, so it should come with pretty much everything that you need, but you can buy other accessories, including extra fans if you want to sort of add one in, but you don't need an extra hub. So let's definitely use the right tool to get this unboxed. Then we should be able to turn this over and hopefully reveal the contents, which, as you no doubt expect, has 3 fans inside. But the difference here is that there aren't any cables attached, and you don't even need to necessarily attach them because they are magnetic and will daisy chain together. And this is where a lot of the cable management savings come from, because rather than having 2 cables per fan, in theory you need 1 cable per set of fans. So this is very similar to what we've seen before from the likes of Lee. We've got loads of different manufacturers doing this sort of thing, but obviously where Corsair goes sort of above and beyond this is that you can daisy chain other things as well, like coolers, all in one ecosystem. And you think in a few years' time, when we have cases and things that actually utilize this, the amount of cables you're going to need in your system are actually going to come way down. And I have to admit that on the whole, I'm actually pretty impressed with what Corsair has managed to do here. I think for a high-end fan system, it's got pretty much everything that you'd want. Mainly really being a level of rigidity if you are going to stick them together, and also the strength that if you do want to sort of, I guess, carry them as one block and then literally install them as I guess you want to when you're spending this much money, it is very easy to do so. I mean, to show you the full system from scratch, to actually get them installed, you grab this little interconnect, put it through the top of the fan, grab the little plastic stopper for the bottom, and then they literally just slide in like that. And again, you can just hold it like that, one easy block. But obviously the fans are only half the story, so let's see what else is inside the box. Here is our iCUE Link system hub, and it's almost mid-size compared to the old Corsair system and then the original. You've got 2 connections on the left and the right, and then on the underside, this is where you're going to actually power it, and this can use up to something crazy like 175 watts of power if you like max it out. Most people are going to get nowhere near close to that, but bear that in mind when it comes to your power supply. That is quite literally going to power not only all of your fans, but your coolers and any other thing that they want to add at a later date. Again, just having 1 power cable for everything. So don't be alarmed by that figure. Like, what, 99% of people probably aren't going to get anywhere close to that. But they've added this from the start into the specifications, so I guess it gives them somewhere to go. We should also mention that that is magnetic, so you don't need to worry about any pesky, sticky strips or anything that are great, but don't always take the weight and obviously aren't reusable. There's also 2 more things inside this box. Screws to get everything installed, our PCIe power connection, again for all of that crazy power. And then here we have our micro USB. Is a little bit annoying, but I assume they've done this for cost-cutting measures just to reduce the price by like £5 or something. But honestly, I think most people would rather pay the extra money and just have USB-C, but maybe I'm wrong. Let me know down in the comment section below. This is already very expensive. And interestingly, on that note, you do only get one cable inside the box to actually get these connected, which I think, I don't want to say isn't good enough because we haven't actually built with it yet. But to me, that seems a little bit stingy because what if you want to use this 3 set as a 2 and a 1, then you don't actually have the cable to get it started. So you'd have to buy an extra cable, which means your £138 starter kit suddenly gets even more expensive. It's going to be what, like 10 to 20 pounds or something for an extra cable? It doesn't actually say. It says the iCUE LINK cable kit, which is this one that has all of the cables you'd ever need, is £45. So probably about 15, maybe £12.99, something like that for one of these. Pretty silly, really. They should include 2 in the box. But if you are going to use this as one single daisy chain kit, obviously that doesn't matter. That, of course, then goes to the hub. Plug in your power, and then of course last but certainly not least, your micro USB. That will go to a USB 2 header on your motherboard, and that is your iCUE system pretty much complete. But let's now do this for real, shall we? And actually see how easy it is in practice. Here we have our significantly cheaper stock Antec fans, all plugged in one by one. As you can see, with the magic of editing, I've actually removed this side panel, and you can start to see the problem. And this is actually one of the better solutions out there, where you have an RGB hub up here, but you still need 2 cables per fan, which gets very messy. And if you do want to start adding systems like this, where you've got a lot more going on, it's going to be a lot more problematic. Right, there's one. Oh, come on, come on. Do you see the problem here? This is why we need systems, oh, for goodness sake, like this, that stop all of this cable management, because already there's a big difference, and we haven't even added the extra ones from that or the one on the back. Right, let's see if this really is as easy as I would like. We drop our fans into place. And of course, if you're like me, the best thing about having one single block is that you can just get away with using 4 screws. If you run into any potential vibrations, it's probably worth putting some more in. But in theory, that should be pretty rock solid. I think actually you will want to use 6. Can we get our cable in? Yes. And that should come around the back. Grab our magnetic connection, whack this over here. And then in theory, just plug that in. It's not the strongest in the world. Yeah, actually, feedback to Corsair, maybe add a stronger magnet next time, because this is a little bit annoying. Oh, and you know what? You know what is actually a bit of a nightmare? I don't think this actually has a spare PCIe power connection, which isn't going to affect most of you, but I probably should have thought about this before I started. Yeah, that's not very good actually, is it? That's an error on my part, but something to note. Spare PCIe. I'm going to double down on this point, because I do have a spare one here, but look, that's not going to reach around the back, is it? Well, I'm certainly not a quitter, so we're just going to stick with it and again show you what will be the worst case scenario and have this sort of dangling there. I know it doesn't look fantastic. This is not the point. This is to show you a case that probably isn't geared towards this sort of tech, and clearly now with a power supply that isn't as well. So if you imagine this is the worst case scenario, you get your plush little like Corsair 5000X or whatever with loads more space, you line it up, fantastic. But as this is a small case, there's not much room for stuff, it's almost stress testing this gear to see what it can actually do to, I guess, the sort of chassis that you don't have room for the bigger stuff in the first place. Or maybe I'm just lazy. I mean, we have also run into potentially another problem, and that is that this motherboard only has one USB 2, which means we're going to lose a USB 2 on the front of this case, but this one's only for demonstration, so it doesn't matter. And I guess in theory you could use a splitter. Depends how much bandwidth it's going to use. Now we need to do the same with the rear fan, and this is where I think it could start to get a little bit complicated and expensive, because if you don't get a cable inside the box, well, you're going to have to buy another one. Surely you get one in the box. No, I don't think you do. I don't think you do. Oh, right, here's where I'm at. I'm thinking all of this stuff is fantastic. It is going to change PC gaming forever. I know that sounds a little bit but genuinely it's true. But the problem I'm really starting to have is with the price of this. Because if you're seriously going to charge people about, or just under £45 for a fan, and not even include the cable inside the box that you need to hook it up with, frankly, I think that's pretty pathetic. I mean, where's our cable box again? What's Corsair gonna say? You should buy this kit for just under 50 quid and then you've got everything you ever need. Well, I don't wanna spend like 200, 250 pounds on all of the fan stuff that I need. I mean, I just want to play PC games. I want my system to look great. Who's seriously going to be that fussed that they're seriously willing to buy cables just to get their already stupidly expensive fans to work? I'm fine with a starter kit. I think that's very, very expensive, but the top end people will pay it. But I think to not actually include any cables in the fan box at all is very naughty. Yeah, I'm not happy about that. But anyway, let's stop moaning and finish getting this installed. Plug this into the other side. And of course, don't forget that you don't have to plug this specifically into this side of the hub if you want to connect this to these fans. Again, they daisy chain without, strictly speaking, daisy chain together, and then you could free this up for something else. But this is what your system will look like if you're going to go for, I guess, just fans. You're not going to add anything else with anything Corsair in it. Probably need to configure this, but let's see what it looks like when we turn this on. Are we going to get any RGB? Yes, we are. There you go. All of our fans have come on, and this is what your system will look like. I mean, we could actually get the front panel on. Definitely looks better with those Corsair fans. They're very attractive. Obviously, you've got all of the customizability. And again, if you want to, you can sort of look at your temperature readouts and set different fan curves and things based on the temperatures of the air at different points. But at the moment, this very much looks like some QL fans with some extra sort of RGB on the side. I appreciate the better cleanup around the side, but it's not necessarily enough at the moment if you were going to just be buying fans to necessarily make it worthwhile, especially if you already got some. It's only when you're going to start adding other devices, things like our iCUE LINK Cooler, that I think it really does start to make sense and does start to come together. I mean, actually, before we proceed, how much did that cost, that upgrade? So about $230 for that upgrade alone. I don't need to say anything, do I? The first cooler off the block to use this brand new iCUE LINK is the H150i. You can buy it in different sizes as well if you want it in 240, 280, 360, even 420. I think they're pretty much doing everything at launch for this, but obviously if you want something with a screen on it, that will be coming at a later date, or if you want something cheaper, again, you're gonna have to wait a little bit for this. Oh, I've only just noticed. Hang on a minute. What can you see here that's a little bit different to normal? All of the fans are pre-applied. I admit I rather like that. Let's pop this under the overhead so you can properly see what we've got going on here. This is a very large cooler, so I think if you're going to want to go for like X299 or Threadripper or anything that has a very large CPU, you should be able to cover it without too many issues. It seems, as I say, quite a lot bigger than normal actually. Obviously pre-applied fans, which is great. Then you have your fan connections and things that go in here, and you've also got an extra USB-C here that you might be wondering what's that for. That is for future upgradability. If you do want to upgrade this with the LCD version, then you'll need to plug this into here essentially just for bandwidth reasons. As for what else is inside the box, all of our different retention stuff, including Threadripper, AM4, AM5. You do also get one of these hubs in the box as well, which is where this does start to get a little bit more reasonable because coolers are very expensive in the first place. But if you're getting cables and a hub and things, and of course the fans as standard if you like, it's probably easier to buy this and upgrade around this rather than potentially buying the starter kit of fans and sort of going down the expensive route. So yeah, personally speaking, I think it's a little bit stingy of Corsair not to include an extra one in here, and honestly, I almost think it's going to work against you being Corsair, and I suppose you watching this video, purely because surely if they give you a way to extend this really easily without having to buy extra cables, you're more likely to do it. So while it's going to maybe save Corsair a few quid now, in the long run it might actually stop people from upgrading their whole system, which I think is a little bit of a shame. So that's my feedback to you, Corsair. Oh, you know what? I've been a little bit silly. Remember when we were talking about the hub and I thought that was actually for a thermal probe? Or maybe you didn't see that because I've asked editor Carl to cut it out of the video. Well, essentially that is a connection for a dummy CPU fan cable that will plug into your motherboard and just stops your PC from not booting if you're not actually plugging in a CPU fan, because you're of course using this cooler block. That is sensible. I like that. But let's now take this opportunity to remove our old cooler and replace it with our new one. And yes, before the comments come in, I know that what we're doing is ridiculously overkill for a rig like this, but we're not really here to sort of test the absolute performance of this. We'll be doing that in later videos when we're using higher end CPUs. Again, it's just to sort of see whether you can now fit stuff in a case that you couldn't really do very easily before. There we go. That is that gone. And I know at this stage I do actually feel bad for not choosing a rig that had a higher end CPU. But then if I'd done that, we wouldn't have discovered the PCIe issue, would we? Science is a weird one. Assuming we can, I haven't actually test fitted this yet. which would be pretty annoying. Oh, for goodness sake, why? Why? Well, it's a good thing that the fans are so easy to remove, aren't they? Because we can put it at the front. Right, those fans at the top are now in. Let's see whether we can get this radiator to do the same. Obviously, if you use it as they have pre-fitted, then the fans are not going to be quite where you want them. But let's do this properly and actually put the fans on the other side. Should be as simple as just dropping this onto the block. Now, a little PC-centric hack for you here is to plug in a couple of these screws now, just to make sure that everything is kept together. And then when we now put this inside our case, all the screws are already pre-aligned, so we can fit the whole thing without cursing on ourselves. And then of course it's time for what really is the star of the show, which is this little hub to connect to our cooler, which is not only going to power the pump, all of the fans, but of course all of the extra fans that we've now added at the top is just one little cable from the hub into the radiator. And then pretty much all we need to do is put this on top of our CPU, and I think we're done. And yes, I know, I've got the tubes at the top. All of this wouldn't actually fit down the bottom of this hard drive cage, okay? Best practice, tube down the bottom, I know. But this should just go on, screw it into place, plug in our dummy CPU fan right here at the top. And then of course, we'll turn this round, we'll connect this to the bottom, and there you have a fully decked out rig with pretty much no cable clutter at all, he says, pushing the cable clutter into the bottom. Bearing in mind, as I say, this is a fully decked out rig with, what's that? 7 fans, a massive great water cooler, and the whole inside is ridiculously clean. Obviously, chances are you won't have this, but again, it's a worst case scenario. And I love the fact that this is a non-modular power supply. It's not a good case for cable management. You can't put anything here or you can see it. And this is exactly why I wanted to use this case. Do you see the whole point of this video now? I have to admit, I am impressed. It is just the cost. The cooler, on a sale, I think is something I would genuinely buy for myself. But as for the fan extension packs, we are starting to talk big money, high-end rigs only. But overall, consider me impressed. I mean, I say that, that's very big talk. We do, of course, need to check that this actually works. Turn it on. We have fans spinning, we have fans illuminated. I mean, to be fair, if you're watching this and thinking it's far too expensive, why don't you check out the PC-centric mouse mat? Link for this is down below. And it's what, like 10% of the price? Oh dear. Just in case that's relevant, what's just happened is I tried to update the firmware on the hub, and I think where it was daisy chained or we don't have enough power, I think what's probably just happened is, I guess the whole system's just restarted. Hopefully everything still works, including the hub. I wonder if it peaks and like uses loads of power when you're doing the firmware, but we're now not getting anything on the display, which is worrying. Well, it appears the graphics driver is also now missing from the rig, so yes, I'm going to say daisy chaining is absolutely a no-go. Do not do it. If you don't have a spare PCIe, you're in a bit of trouble. It says the graphics card isn't working properly. No, it says it's disabled. Windows enabled the device, however the device is still not working properly. Can't load the drivers for the device. It's okay, it's okay. Clearly there was just a power surge, it disabled the device to protect itself. It's okay. Let me now walk around the other side of the table and we can actually pick up where we left off. And where we left off is of course with Corsair iCUE, and they've now got the latest version of this, iCUE 5. So if you've used iCUE before, there's not really too many changes to the way it looks, but you can see everything does show up. You've got your H150i, your QX, and your LINK system hub. This is the thing that I'm not going to be doing a firmware update for anytime soon. I mean, to be fair, it did actually update, but as you can see, everything else is similar to how it is before. You can see all of our fans do appear under the system hub, and all of the different LEDs on the different fans will coincide to where they are. So if you have loads of them like we have here, then they're do different combinations of different colors, so you can see which one is which, drag them into the right place, and if you want like an order of effects, you obviously can choose that without having to plug them into a certain port. I mean, that's the way it used to be, but obviously now there are no numbered ports, so you have to do it in software. If we navigate over to device view, you get this cool little map that shows you where everything is, what it's connected to. You probably know this already, but if it's been years since you've opened up your PC, or more importantly, you've bought one that was sort of pre-built or built for you, this is a cool way to know what you can and can't upgrade. If we navigate over to our fans, you'll see we have our QXs all arranged, and obviously you've got loads of different lighting effects and things. This one is very similar to what we've seen before, but if we take this off for a second, we can go across to this new one called Time Warp. That should, if we turn them on, essentially strobe all of the lights on the LEDs with the fan speed itself, and this is variable as well, so if the fan speed gets higher, the effect should still work. I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see this on camera, but it makes it look as if the fan isn't moving, but obviously it is. It's really quite weird. It's a little bit flickery at the moment because the fan speed isn't particularly high, but obviously the faster you've got the fan speed, then the faster the LEDs will strobe, and I guess the less flickery it will look. But it's a nice thing to have in your arsenal. I'm not entirely sure about the fact that the sides flicker as well, but it's a pretty cool effect. What other effects have we got though? Gate. That's quite a lot of movement. You've got color wave, make it rainbow. This is like the classic Corsair. You've obviously got watercolor that we've seen before. Infinity. Now this does sound very new. What's this? It uses all of the different LEDs and makes the PC look like it's breathing, like it's alive. And don't forget as well, you can layer all of these different effects as well. So maybe you want all of the fans on all of the time. You can set it on white and then have something like this on the top just to make your PC look bright, but then also kind of cool. I wouldn't say anything is really out there, but it's nice to have a proper library and obviously be able to control them. So I don't think anyone's going to have any complaints here. And of course, don't forget you have the lighting link section as well, which links all of your Corsair devices as well. So you're not going to have quite as many effects because not every Corsair device has all of the LEDs to actually do an effect like this, but it is nice to have everything in your system sort of match up. But anyway, there we are. Corsair iCUE Link, a system that I think will change PC gaming. Is going to stop people, and it should stop people buying peripherals that don't sort of adopt this sort of strategy, especially at the high end, because personally speaking, I think I'd be really annoyed if I just bought like an H150 for loads of money and now you know that a lot of the stuff is going to get replaced. I mean, it doesn't matter if you've got a system, it's fully kitted out, you don't need to upgrade it. But if you've just started your journey, you've spent a lot of money, I think it's fair to say that you are going to be a little bit annoyed because you won't know whether to upgrade with the bits you've already got or to sort of start again and to use all of this. I think it is pretty much far too expensive at the moment though for like 90% of people, probably nearer to 99% of people to actually get into, especially when you start factoring things like buying extra hubs or the cable pack and things like that. I would argue that Corsair could have done more to make it a little bit more accessible, but I guess it is going to come down in price over time, not only for boxes like this, but obviously the products themselves will get cheaper. Not everyone needs temperature probes and things and all their fans and the highest quality. A lot of people just want something that's going to be very easy to put together, something that looks good and is quiet enough and is obviously a decent upgrade over the stock fans. But anyway, I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think this is the future? Do you think this is going to be a game changer for PC building? Or do you think this is just a load of expensive old tat? You don't need RGB lights in your system and you were fine with what you had. Smash the like button, get yourself subscribed, and of course if you are interested in current pricing on this, because I think it will change over time, then you can find it linked down below with my Amazon affiliate links.
And while you're down there, why not check out ASRock's new gaming monitor? This curved, ultra-wide display supports over 100% of the sRGB color space, rocks 165Hz refresh rate with FreeSync Premium, and has a gorgeous 3440 by 1440 resolution. It even comes with a baked-in Wi-Fi antenna and a mini OLED display on the stand for custom graphics. Learn more today with the link down below.
But thank you so much for watching this video. We'll catch you in the next one.